Hey everyone, welcome back to God Stories. This is the 8th episode. I've got one of my really good friends I've gotten to know over the past couple of years. I'm really excited to hear his testimony, so if everyone will please welcome Antwane Tucker to the channel.
What's good, bro?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good.
All
Glad
right.
to be here.
All right, if you could just tell the people a little bit about yourself.
I am Antwane Tucker Jr. I'm 28. I'll be 29 this year, so I am fairly getting old. But but I am a elder and a pastor at Oasis of Praise, and yeah, is that enough?
Yeah, that's good.
We're gonna,
That's great.
yeah,
Love it.
do a whole autobiography.
No, you don't have to. So my first question for you and your testimony is just tell us a little bit about, life before Jesus and life before, you really committed yourself to Jesus.
So, life before, like, fully committing, it was different. When I came here,
Mm-hmm.
I started to see who God really was.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I struggled.
Yeah.
The reason why I struggled was because during school, I wanted to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was one of the main things. I wanted to fit in with the crowd, which isn't a good thing. That would lead you down a very bad path,
Mm-hmm.
and that started to happen. And so it got to the point where, like, I was basically like playing church.
Mm-hmm.
Like I knew how loving God was, how kind and gentle He was, and how He wants me and He's willing to chase after me. But at the same time, I still desired what my flesh wanted.
Yeah.
And so I basically played church.
Mm-hmm.
Even though like I started to get into ministry and everything like that. And I'm still in school, I joined the youth group, the worship team, and everything like that, and I still just struggle with wanting to fit in, because I guess I would say I wasn't ready to be that misfit,
Mm-hmm.
and because I wasn't ready, I started to get into things that I shouldn't have got into. I came across porn at a very young age. That started to become a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol started to become a problem. I started smoking weed. Like, I was just going down a very bad path.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, still trying to do ministry.
Yeah.
And so it was like I was just being torn apart.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing was complete. Like things was just confusing because, I'm in that line, I'm not hot, I'm not cold, I'm lukewarm.
Yeah.
And so I'm being torn apart.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was, even though I was learning different things in church, you know what I mean? I'm still learning. It was just I wasn't applying those things to my life.
Yeah.
And so it was tough. It was really tough,
Mm-hmm.
Before I fully committed to God.
Mm-hmm. So when we talk about that, what was like the change once you said, "Hey, Jesus is for me, and I think this is the fix that is everything that's going wrong in my life." I say, just what was the process of going through that? So, like, after you committed yourself to Jesus, what was the 6-month process, like saying, "Hey, I've committed myself to Jesus. Now I have to fix everything that I know I shouldn't do."
Okay.
So,
that process
mm-hmm.
is it's a process of sacrifice.
Yeah.
When I really like, dove in and committed and fully was like, this is for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's when Patrick first started coming.
Mm-hmm.
and he seen something in me that I wasn't seeing.
Yeah.
And because he challenged me, that changed everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Didn't really relationship with my dad wasn't really that great, and because he challenged me, that made me feel like, okay, he sees something.
Mm-hmm.
He see that I can be better,
Yeah.
and so that process was just sacrifice. I basically lost. Well, I ain't even gonna say lost. I removed myself from a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
that I associated with when I was going down that path.
Mm-hmm.
Were they happy? No. I mean, was it fun? No.
Mm-hmm.
But it was worth it.
Yeah.
It was a necessary sacrifice. Um, that meant reading your word more, praying more,
Mm-hmm.
just trying to dwell in God's presence more.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that those 6 months I would say was definitely sacrifice,
Mm-hmm.
giving up the things that I thought I needed. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it was it sounds tough.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it wasn't.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When you sacrifice all those things and you give it up and you just let God, have full control, there's peace,
Mm-hmm.
there's joy, there's happiness.
Yeah.
When
Mm-hmm.
you're dwelling in all those sinful things, there isn't peace, there isn't joy. You might feel like it is,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, you're like, man, life sucks.
Yeah.
But I would say it was sacrifice, and it was necessary sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that needed to happen in order to get me to where I am today.
Yeah. So I would kind of go on a little bit off a tangent of what you said. So why do you think it's hard for? I would just say guys, really, because it really this is. I'm not saying girls don't deal with this, but it's hard to quote sacrifice what we want the most once Jesus says, "Hey, this is what it needs to be." And so like I would just kind of like talk about like because I know for me like sacrifice was hard when sports teams became an idol and not investing in that as much. So like talk about for you how sacrifice is may be tough on the on the outside, but on the inside it's actually like the easiest and the best thing for you.
Okay, so on the outside it's tough because of your flesh.
Mm-hmm.
It's what your flesh desires. It's what your flesh wants.
Mm-hmm.
On the inside, I look at it as your spirit man.
Mm-hmm.
What your spirit man needs, what he wants. It's tough to sacrifice as a man because a lot of times there's pride,
Yeah.
there's ego, there's you get the mentality of you can do it on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you need to sacrifice, all those things come into play, and you kind of struggle to make that sacrifice because now in your mind you're trying to weigh everything.
Mm-hmm.
And when you on the outside, when you're just dealing with it on the outside, I don't think it would, flesh wise, you wouldn't be able to make that sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because your flesh doesn't see what it gains.
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times, man, when you have to sacrifice, you have to battle those two things.
Mm-hmm.
You have to battle the flesh,
Mm-hmm.
and you gotta battle with the spirit.
Yeah.
And when that's happening, that's when you need to really talk to God.
Yeah.
Because if you can't make those decisions on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Like your spirit knows what it needs. Your flesh, you shouldn't care about what your flesh needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because that's if we base everything off of, let's just say, our emotions,
Mm-hmm.
I highly doubt anybody in this room would be here.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's one of the main reasons why, I feel like men sacrifice is because of those emotions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I said, ego. A lot of times, man, we pump ourselves up. I got this. I can do this. I don't need nobody else.
Yeah.
No, you definitely need somebody. You need guys. You need your friends.
Mm-hmm.
You need God.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and so when it comes down to sacrifice, yes, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you don't see the end goal, that goal is so much better
Mm-hmm.
than what you have now.
Yeah. So now you've committed to Jesus. Everything, all the sacrifice, you're still dealing with that. But just talk a little bit about how Jesus just changed your perspective a little bit once you committed to Him, and how once you committed yourself to Him, how just you thought differently, and how the things of old just weren't fulfilling anymore, and you found that Jesus was the only thing that was sustaining.
Excuse me. I'll start with the perspective part of it. So, for the longest, my perspective was people outside of church were living great lives.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, when you're on the outside looking in, it looks like they're having fun. They're enjoying life. And when I really got committed to God, I started to understand that that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, they might seem happy, but they're not.
Mm-hmm.
They feel alone. They fall into depression. There's anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So many things happen when you're not with God.
Yeah.
And so that's how that changed my perspective. I started to really understand that, with Him, there's true joy.
Mm-hmm.
There's real peace. Without Him, there's fake joy. There's fake peace. There's things that you do to make yourself feel like you're at peace.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I feel like that's, how substance abuse comes in. Just to help you get away from what you're dealing with. And so that's how that really changed my perspective. It was eye opening, because like I said, for so long, I'm looking at everybody else that's, not in church, that's not believing, and they just look like they're having a great time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. you see them, they always got a smile. You know what I'm talking about, But in reality, they're not. And when he opened my eyes to that, I was like, man, like, I would rather have, what God has,
Mm-hmm.
than to have something that's not even sustaining me.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other part of that question? The first part of it?
It was, how did Jesus change your perspective, and how is your life more sustaining, more than what you thought it would be? Like, He's the only thing that can sustain you, not the things of this world.
Yeah. So with that, that really ties into the perspective part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I was getting into alcohol, and so with that, when it comes down to that, like, alcohol, it makes you feel like you're having a great time.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you feel more upbeat,
Mm-hmm.
like you're really having fun, but you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, when you can just sit down and just talk to God, and just let Him do what He does. It's so much more filling
Mm-hmm.
than what the world offers.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, perspective in how He sustains you is hand in hand, man. It's a beautiful thing, because like I said, you can sit down and you can just talk to God for as long as you want to. He's gonna listen. As long as you're talking, he's gonna listen. And I remember there have been times, man, I'm just, I'm talking to God and I'll just stop, just to listen. And a lot of times you might not know what you need in that moment, but God knows what you need.
Yeah.
And I remember there's been times when I'll just, I'll be praying and I'll just stop and that peace will just fall on me. That's so much more than what the world can give me.
Of course.
So that's, yeah.
So the last question I have for you is, what's one piece of advice you could give to somebody maybe in a similar situation you're in? So like, maybe they're dealing with substance abuse or, pornography, or maybe just, just something in general that, God can cover. What's one piece of advice you could give to them?
I would say talk to somebody. Talk to someone in your church. I would prefer your pastor. Talk to your pastor. Sit down with your pastor. And the reason I say that is because it's a great thing when you confess your sins to someone else. It holds you accountable. And if you truly want to get out of that, you can, you talk to someone, they can hold you accountable. God honors that. It makes it easier to go to God, because a lot of times, like when you're dealing with those things, you sometimes feel shameful. If you know what you know about God, it's like, man, he don't want to hear from me on this. But he wants to hear it. He wants to hear you come to him and say, God, take it all. Just take it all. Make me pure again. And that's one thing, a lot of people don't understand about it. Pornography destroys your purity.
Yeah.
It really does. But when you go to God, someone who's pure, who's holy, he cleans you, he cleans you up. Renew your heart.
Yeah.
Gives you that purity back. It's beautiful. It's just that's how I would put it. It's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
But really talk to someone. Don't feel embarrassed. There's a lot of people has dealt with it, okay? Let's just be honest. A lot of people has dealt with, pornography, has dealt with alcohol, substance abuse, depression, anxiety. There's somebody out there that's dealt with it, that's in church, that you can go talk to. Don't be embarrassed to talk to them.
Yeah.
That guidance helps you grow closer to God. So talk to somebody. Just be open.
Yeah.
Be vulnerable. It's okay to be vulnerable. Men, be vulnerable. Yeah. Sometimes we're not vulnerable enough, man. And I feel like that's what we need.
Yeah.
It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be open. It's okay to lay all your dirt down.
Yeah. That's good. Don't let your pride get in the way.
Yeah.
Well, Antwane, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I haven't really got to hear your story all that much, so it was very enlightening to me, what you've gone through and what God has brought you through. So thank you very much for coming on here, sharing your testimony. I know I got a lot out of it. I hope you guys get a lot of it as well.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and watch all of our other videos, and we got some great more videos coming out for y'all as well. So we will see you in the next one.